Hello friends, this video on thermodynamics part 18 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Please make sure that you have watched all the videos from part 1 to part 17 before going ahead with part 18. Now we will discuss about the Carnot engine. Carnot engine is named after a French scientist named Carnot. It is basically a reversible engine with the maximum efficiency. I told you just now that the second law of thermodynamics stated that a system cannot be 100% efficient. There has to be a limit to the efficiency of a system. So what should be that maximum efficiency? What defines that maximum limit of efficiency of a heat engine? So Carnot engine is supposed to be the maximum efficient heat engine, right? So the efficiency of Carnot engine is maximum and no heat engine can have efficiency greater than this. So let us discuss Carnot engine. It is the ideal engine operating between two temperatures and the ideal engine operating between two temperatures should be a reversible engine. Why is it so? Why can't an irreversible engine be an ideal engine operating between two temperatures? That's because just in the previous slide I told, a reversible engine means the process involved inside that engine would be reversible processes, right? On the other hand, if I consider irreversible engine, then there will be dissipative effects. That means there will be loss of energy here and there. So dissipative effects will result in reduced efficiency. So the efficiency of an irreversible engine will decrease because of the dissipative effects. So that is one of the most important reason why a reversible engine can be the engine with maximum efficiency. So Carnot engine was a reversible engine operating between two temperatures and with maximum efficiency. So as I just now explained, reversible heat engine operating between two temperatures. Just remember it very clearly that why is it that the ideal engine between two temperatures should be reversible engine. The first reason is no dissipative effects. Since no dissipative effects, therefore better efficiency. And the second reason is it is a quasi-static process. So that is why we choose, and the ideal engine between two temperatures should be a reversible engine. So this reversible engine is named as Carnot engine. Now we will see what are the different processes that take place in one cycle of Carnot engine. So we will talk about the cycle of processes in a Carnot engine. From the basics of heat engine, what do we know? Carnot engine is also a heat engine, right? Just that it is a reversible heat engine. So as per the basic knowledge of heat engine, what do we know? What is the purpose of heat engine? It takes certain amount of heat from a reservoir, say Q1, does some work W on the environment, and then gives back the remaining amount of heat Q2 to a reservoir at low temperature, right? That is the basic functioning of any heat engine. So basically what happens in the Carnot engine, let us suppose this is my engine. This is the hot reservoir and this is the cold reservoir. So what do we want? According to the basics of heat engine, this engine will take some amount of heat, say Q1, from this hot reservoir, and it will give some amount of heat, say Q2, to the cold reservoir. Let us suppose that the hot reservoir is at some temperature T1 and the cold reservoir is at some temperature T2. So it is very obvious that T1 is greater than T2. Now what is our aim? We want that this system or this engine should take Q1 amount of heat at temperature T1 and it should give Q2 amount of heat at temperature T2 to the cold reservoir. And this cycle should keep repeating. So what are the processes which should be employed to do this? So let us see. We will see it stepwise. So the first step that should take place is the engine should absorb heat from the hot reservoir. That is the first step is heat absorption. So how, by adopting which process will the system absorb heat? Now please keep in mind one point, that whatever processes we employ for each of the steps, they all should be reversible process, right? Because that is how, if all the processes involved are reversible, only then the engine is a reversible engine. And I told you, why do we want Carnot engine to be a reversible engine? To have maximum efficiency, right? So how do you think, which process should we use for this engine to absorb heat from the hot reservoir? We want that heat should get absorbed, but at the same time, there should be no temperature gradient. You remember, I told you while explaining quasi-static process, that a process is quasi-static if there is no much difference in temperature. That means if this hot reservoir is at temperature T1, the engine should also be at temperature T1 and accept the amount of heat Q1. So that means the process will take place at constant temperature. So that means the process would be isothermal. So it should be isothermal, and since the system is absorbing heat, so it will be isothermal expansion. So this process, the first process that will take place is isothermal expansion. So in this isothermal expansion, what will happen? Engine absorbs Q1 at temperature T1. So right now, inside my engine, the temperature is T1 and amount of heat inside the engine is Q1, right? Now what will happen? Again, we want that this engine should release some amount of heat Q2 to the cold reservoir at temperature T2. So again, in this case, I want that flow of heat should take place, but the process should be reversible. For the process to be reversible, it has to be a quasi-static process, and for that, your temperature should be constant. So that means again, when the system will release heat, that will be heat, we call that, let us suppose we call that as heat release. So during heat release, what will be the process? That will again be isothermal. But since now the system is releasing heat, so there will be contraction. So we will call this as isothermal contraction. So in isothermal contraction, what happens? Engine releases Q2 amount of heat at temperature T2. So this is another step. But there is a question that in the first step, I said that the engine should absorb heat at temperature T1. And in the second step, I am saying that the engine should release heat at temperature T2. That means there has to be one process there has to be some process which will take place inside this engine and which will increase the temperature of the engine from T1 to T2. Right? So what process can we employ between these two steps? That means this heat release step is not my step 2, it is my step 3. There has to be another process in between which will increase the temperature of the engine from T1 to T2, but it will not involve any flow of heat. So just think yourself, which process can it be? A process where there is no flow of heat. That means it has to be an adiabatic process where there is no heat flow, only change in temperature. So that means the second step would be adiabatic. So in the second step, what will happen? There will be change in temperature from T1 to T2. Right? Similarly, now after we have released heat to the cold reservoir, now my system is at temperature T2. So if my system is at temperature T2, again there has to be some process inside the system which will change the temperature from T2 to T1, because only when the system is at temperature T1, it will again be able to absorb it. Because this process will have to, just understand this, these processes should keep continuing, the cycle should keep on moving. So that will happen only when the system again comes back to temperature T1 so that it can again absorb heat isothermally. So again there has to be another adiabatic process which will change the temperature of the system from T2 to T1 without any flow of heat. So these 4 steps together will constitute one cycle of a Carnot engine. So Carnot engine consists of one isothermal expansion followed by adiabatic, then again followed by isothermal contraction, which is again followed by adiabatic, and this cycle will keep continuing. So let me brief it once again. What happened? Our aim was that the engine should absorb some heat Q1 from the hot reservoir and then release some heat Q2 to the cold reservoir, right? And then again it should absorb heat Q1 from hot reservoir. So what we did, the first step was isothermal expansion. That is, at constant temperature, the system just absorbed heat Q1. So now my system is at temperature T1. Now, one adiabatic change took place which changed the temperature of the system from T1 to T2 without any heat flow. And then in the third step, it again released heat Q2 at temperature T2 to the cold reservoir, which was again at T2. So that was isothermal contraction. And then again one adiabatic change took place which took the engine from T2 to T1. So that now the system is again ready to absorb heat from the hot reservoir. So these four processes together will constitute a Carnot cycle. So one cycle of a Carnot engine is termed as Carnot cycle. Thank you. Please visit examfear.com to watch free educational videos, try free online tests, get the best quality study materials, study from the best tutors and mentors, and much more. Thank you once again.